Hello. For this project, I was tasked to create or add whimsical sounds to an existing video. So this is a children's show that my previous client had, and then they wanted me to add some sound effects to make the video lively. So first of all, I use my main DAW is Reaper, and I also use FL Studio for for more precise audio or sample manipulation. But generally, I primarily use Reaper as my recording and mixing software. So I start by creating a session file, which is this, and I also prepare file folders for all of the assets that we I will need for the project. Next, after I have the session files ready, I start by checking out the video. So it starts with just this video track, and this is the video that they sent to me. It's a compilation of all the microphones that they have, and this is how it sounds like.
Have an ice cream? No, Kenny, it's too cold. Oh, okay. Well, can I
So
have a drink?
Yes, you can.
this
Oh,
is
I have some
the
yummy iced
raw
tea.
take.
Ah,
This is the file that
too
they
cold,
sent me
Kenny.
when
Too
they
cold,
asked me
Kenny.
to create the video. And so, in order to simplify my work, I start by adding these time markers. I use the time markers to remind me on where the sections are where I need to create sounds. So, for example, I put a time marker here reminding me to create like ice cream sounds here. Um, I also use the time markers to create different segments of the video. It's very useful, especially if I'm working on very long projects. For this one, it's not as long, so I primarily use the time markers only to indicate where I need to add the specific sound effects. So after reviewing the
Cream.
video and adding the time markers, I usually start off by downloading the necessary assets. So I think about what I need to add and what I need to use. So I either look at my existing sound library, um, or the client also has their sound library, and as well as some websites where we can safely download usable samples online. So by using those three options, I gather all the sound samples that I feel like could work for the project. So for example, here we have the ambient bus. So this is like a bus for all of my background or ambient sounds. So here we have a long sample of a snowy background
Have
sound.
some.
Isolate this. And we also have like a blizzard sound, and as well as some howling winds. So I've picked out the ones that I feel like could work for the video, and then I combined them all. I also added a little bit of filtering to make it cleaner. And so we have the first part of the video is now we have the background sound or the ambience. So
Hey, can I have an ice cream?
the am
No,
this
Kenny,
is
it's
just the
too cold.
ambience and the
Okay.
microphones sounds.
Well,
So
can I have a
I
drink?
usually start
Yes, you can.
with the things that are broader. I would consider this like broader strokes. So ambient sounds are long, generally long files that don't have so many technical edits to them. So I generally start off with creating that ambient sound for the whole video. Next is I I start downloading the sounds um, for specific segments. So, for example, we have here some ice cream bells. So these are like samples of ice cream bells. Then I also supplement it with my own sounds that I create from scratch. If you can hear it. So before I don't start creating raw. I don't start out creating my own sounds. First, I try to minimize my work by looking for existing sounds that are usable. And once I don't find the sounds that I need, then that's when I start making sounds from scratch. And it's also cool because the sounds that you make will still be usable in the future. It's just you can add more sounds to your library the more projects you make. So here I selected different sound clips, like some iced tea sounds, some sleigh bells, which I generally cut up the sounds, the audio clips, and then I often add a little bit of EQ and maybe some compression on the audio clips just to make them sit better with the whole mix. We don't want nasty sounds popping out and hurting our ears. Or no, we want to create a cohesive feeling to the entire video. So I make sure to clean up the audio files before adding any other effects. So once I'm sure, so after I've got the files I needed, so I also do the sounds by segment. So as you can see on the left side, I have different I have different color codes or coordination for different groups of sounds. So by grouping them, I can avoid any confusion. So the generally this part here, the green part, the green segments, they are focused on the whimsical sound effects that accompany the conversations.
No. Yes, you can. Oh, I have. No.
So yeah, I'll show you.
No. Okay. Yes.
So I use the sounds to um, add the feeling of the conversation. Add creative touch to their conversation. And then I also have sounds here for the intro. Generally some oboe. So these ones are the MIDI ones. Are the ones that I created from scratch. So back to the process. Once I've gathered all the audio files that I could use, I then afterwards I start creating sounds from scratch. So this is the more fun and creative part, and I generally use VS Roland keyboard plugins. So this is a Roland 106, and it sounds like this. And I also use a Roland Juno keyboard for other sounds. There, I like the Roland ones for children's sounds because they sound good right off the bat. So, for example, this is a MIDI one for a whistle effect. So, if we isolate it, it sounds like this. And this is the keyboard that I use. So yeah, just by playing around with the keyboard and the sound effects, you can add like the whimsical sounds. I also used it here. It creates a sense of urgency to the situation. Let's look for other sounds that I created from scratch. So as Again, this is the intro and outro sounds. This is like a polychorus or often oboe and some brass effects and some string effects usually sound good for children's content. And this is how it sounds like. We can make it deeper. And yeah, this is a layer of violin sounds, which I also did specifically for that part. So here we added some whimsical whistles
Oh, oh, can I have the sled?
and
Yes.
other whimsical sounds here to go with the smoke effect. And um, yeah, so basically that's it. It's just my whole process is around gathering the sound samples from different libraries that we can use for a specific project, and then I arrange them according to the timestamps that I've already indicated. And once I feel like there's still some parts missing, that's when I really do some sound design from scratch. So my sound design work based on this is primarily around manipulating existing sounds, adjusting them, and making them flow with the flow of the video, as well as creating specific sounds from scratch to add some whimsical touch to the video to make it sound like it's a kiddie show. I particularly enjoyed this one because I really enjoyed how it came out. I liked how the client received it. They really liked it. And um, overall, it's fun. And this is one of the first that I made with a lot of designing and thinking. And it's also lighthearted. So I really enjoyed it. Personally, I enjoyed it more because of the collaborative feel of them creating a good video and recording good audio from their microphones, creating a good performance, and then my job then afterwards was to consolidate all of our efforts and adding my own little magic of sounds to it to create a full experience for the kids who are watching this. Also, I add a bit of final compression at the end of everything, like just a simple master bus effect chain, just to glue all the sounds together. I really like to make sure that all the sound effects don't stand out too much. Like I want the sounds, I want the background music, I want the background ambience, the vocals. Like basically, I want everything to sit inside its own reality, or it's I want them to sit together as if they're one cohesive sound, and that's why I always make sure to add a bit of compression and final limiting at the end of the whole project. So I typically just render this as a wave file and send it to the client because they have their own video producer who compiles it all. So all the video producer really has to do is just align the wave file that I submit. And then afterwards, I clean up the files. Like I compile all the sounds that I've created for the project, and then it helps me build a, a slightly bigger sound library that allows us so we can reuse the sounds here for future projects as well. And yeah, that's my workflow and that for this specific project. Thank you for listening.